Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host, Annalisa Itkor.
And I'm your host, Lisa Richardson.
And today we are in the beautiful city of Beaufort, here in the council chambers, and we are welcoming some really interesting guests today.
Yes, we are. We have a lot to talk about on the agenda. And first up, we have Phil Cromer. He's city councilman running for re-election.
And next we have city councilman Stephen Murray.
Then finally, we have our two special guests, Bill Prokop, city manager, and also Reese Berthoff, fire chief and director of communications.
So stick around for a special election version of 843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
.843 TV, where the Low Country comes to speak.
Where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Beaufort comes to speak.
.843 TV,
where communities come to speak. Welcome to 843 TV. We're here in the Beaufort Council Chambers in downtown Beaufort. What a beautiful building, and it's a special season coming up with the election. So today we have Councilman Phil Cromer here. He's up for re-election, and Phil, you've got quite a history. You're South Carolina native, first of all, and you've got quite a history in the political scene in our area. Share a little bit about that background.
Well, I worked originally for the Low Country Council of Governments in Point South as an economic development coordinator. After that, I went to the town of Ridgeland as the town administrator. From there to Port Royal as the town manager, and then from there to the Municipal Association of South Carolina, where I worked in their insurance programs as a risk manager for 26 years before retiring about 5 years ago.
That's quite a history you have. Why are you running for re-election?
I'm running to continue the positive work that council's undertaken to improve the quality of life for the citizens of the city of Beaufort.
That's a pretty darn good reason. Now, what do you see as the top two priorities, let's say, for the city council?
Well, I think going forward, the top two priorities, one's going to be stormwater. We have some stormwater issues. Yes. We live in the Low Country. We have areas prone to flooding. We've identified 9 areas in the city of Beaufort, the major one being the Mossy Oaks area. Council has passed first reading on a general obligation bond for $6 million to couple that with a $1 million community development block grant to address that problem. It'll be a 1.5 to 2 year project, and when that's completed, hopefully there'll be some money left over to apply to other areas. But this is a long-term program or project, and it's going to require probably at least $15+ million to do the total city. So as we acquire funding, we'll address those other areas. The second area is economic development. We have to have higher paying jobs, and we need to diversify our economy. Unfortunately, we're losing a lot of our young people who are going out of the area seeking other employment opportunities. We have exiting military who have a great skill set. They also have security clearances that any employer would love to have, but we don't have the jobs available for them. So we're also losing those people as well. But council has taken some steps. We've acquired 500 Carteret Street. We've got a Beaufort digital corridor that we've created there. We're trying to attract some digital and tech companies to locate here. We've also gotten grant money to upgrade our Commerce Park, to widen roads and put in fiber optic cable to make it more marketable to other industries.
So, what an agenda they've got going.
Yeah, well, and to me, you know, that's a very immediate problem, two problems that you're addressing right now. What are some of the areas that you see the City Council addressing in the future?
Well, I'd like to see us address what we already have in terms of facilities. We've got several buildings, the Arsenal, the Carnegie Building, the Public Works Building, and our crown jewel, which is the Waterfront Park, that require maintenance. And we've had deferred maintenance for a long time, and it's come home to roost. So we've got to get busy on that. And council has gotten, or the city has acquired a grant to put a new roof on the Arsenal. And we've also gotten grants to work to redo the pilings underneath the Waterfront Park.
The Waterfront Park, if you hadn't seen it, is quite beautiful with the new boat ramp and the boat dock and all of that. So it's just a great thing. Yeah. So a lot to look ahead to. But in the past few years, you've had a lot of accomplishments. So let's break some of those down. What are some of the ones you feel are most significant that you're most proud of?
Well, I think the council was able to come up with a Beaufort Code, which is our planning and zoning document. Ties in nicely with our civic master plan. We've done the Boundary Street corridor project. That's been completed, giving us an attractive entrance into Beaufort. We've done the day dock, as you mentioned, down on the waterfront park, which has been hugely successful. And Whitehall Park, which is a most recent thing where we've worked together with other entities and parties to have a 9.72 acre park for the community.
Where is that located?
It's on Ladies Island, right across the Woods Bridge.
Okay. And Ladies Island itself has had significant improvements as well, correct?
It has, and hopefully if, I don't know if I can say this, but if this new vote on the penny sales tax passes, that we'll be able to make some transportation improvements over there in terms of roads.
That's great.
To help out
That's
on-
great.
So you mentioned the penny sales tax. That's obviously a huge thing coming up on the ballot. Share with us why you feel that is so significant.
Well, it's important because we have some transportation issues here, and Hilton Head particularly needs a bridge over there. They supply most of the tourism traffic, if you will, and that helps out the rest of us in terms of being a taxpayer. But we definitely have some problems on Ladies Island. There's still, I think, over 8,000 planned or plottable, buildable lots, if you will, on Ladies Island that can be built, which will double their population and create a bigger issue for us. But we've got to get a grasp on the transportation issues around here. We'll have gridlock like a lot of other cities do.
Well, we know that because we live in southern Beaufort County, so we experience that quite a bit daily.
Now, I'm just curious, we just have a little bit of time left. What are some of the accomplishments or unaccomplishment of which you are most proud?
I would say, for me, it would be the Whitehall Park, simply because that's an iconic piece of property. It's the quintessence of the Low Country, and we're going to be saving it for generations to come. And also the fact that we were able to get several groups together with one aim, and that is to get the park, make it a reality, and we were able to do that. You had the City of Beaufort, Beaufort County, Open Land Trust, Friends of Whitehall. There was a foundation involved and the developer, and we all came together in short order to make this a reality.
Oh, it's exciting. We love going out there. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Councilman. Really appreciate your time. And we will be back with more election pertinent information right here on 843 TV.
Thank you.
Welcome back to 843 TV. We are delighted to welcome Beaufort City Councilman Stephen Murray. Now, let's help our viewers get to know you a little bit. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm a Beaufort native, third generation Beaufortonian.
Wow.
Graduated from Beaufort High School
Wow.
in the 90s. Moved away for a while. I own the kazoo factory here in town. We also have another company called New South Shirts. Married to an educator who works for the Beaufort County School District, and I've got twin 5-year-old girls.
Wow. Twin 5-year-olds. Wow.
Yeah, who are Witch and Cinderella today for
Oh,
Halloween.
that's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
so I moved the company back in 2009. For some reason got sort of excited about community leadership and economic development within the region, and sort of worked my way through a civic process, and then ran for council 4 years ago, and was elected, and been very proud and honored to serve the citizens of Beaufort the last 4 years.
Now, you used two magic words in there, economic development, and I know that's something that's very important to the city of Beaufort. How do you in the city define economic development?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, as a kid who grew up here, I have a handful of friends who would love to be back in the region, but we do have a relatively high cost of living as compared to a lot of other places around us, and we don't have a lot of economic opportunity, a lot of great jobs that allow us to live here for those of us who have to work here. So the city, we've prioritized economic development in our strategic plan for the last 3 years. And we do that by simply saying we're trying to encourage and help create the type of economic opportunity that allows citizens who have to work in order to live here, allows them that opportunity. We typically define that by primary industry. And so we break economic development into two job types or two industry types, primary and secondary. I happen to own one of each. So the kazoo business, for example, about 80 to 90% of our revenues are from outside of the state of South Carolina. We bring those monies into the community. The majority of them stay here and sort of go into the economic expansion of our community. My t-shirt business, on the other hand, most of those are local customers, and so it's just dollars that are already in our community, sort of in this washing machine that go around. So there's no real economic expansion. So where the government's involved in trying to encourage and help businesses expand, we really try to focus on the primary, with the theory being that as the primary industry sector expands, it goes down and helps the secondary expand. So around manufacturing, technology, back office IT, distribution, those types of businesses.
And those are what we are lacking in a sense in our area.
They are. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we pulled ad valorem property tax collections for manufacturing. In most counties in South Carolina, it's somewhere between 12 and 14%. In Beaufort County, it was 0.23 of 1%.
Wow.
So less than 1/4% in Beaufort County. So we've got a pretty big delta between most of our counties around us. And I don't think we'll ever be a huge manufacturing center, but I do think that there is some diversity there and some balance that we ought to work towards over the next few years.
Now, the Beaufort Digital Corridor is one of the initiatives. First of all, explain what that means. What is that?
Yeah, so the Beaufort Digital Corridor is something the city sponsored and championed almost 2 years ago. It's a partnership with the Charleston Digital Corridor, who's seen tremendous success in cultivating technology-oriented businesses. So we have a 5,000 square foot incubator co-work facility in Carteret Street called Base Camp. And so the Digital Corridor is around 4 tenants. So one is space, and that's our Base Camp facility where entrepreneurs, innovators, they have a great place to come and work, and so you can rent an office for a day, an hour, a month. We make it easy for you. It's a cool space with like-minded folks in technology. The second is talent. So we have Code Camp. So if you have an interest in website development or coding, you can take a relatively low-cost, sort of easy after-hours class. We also have classes for middle and high school students to learn video game design that are going on right now. The third thing is talent and community, and we believe that there is a technology community in Beaufort, an existing community, but they're very siloed. They're working in their offices or their homes,
right,
and they're not collaborating like we think that they should. So we have monthly networking, monthly classes, monthly discussions about business development or about technology. And the idea is if you bring folks in technology and innovation together on a regular basis, good things happen out of those conversations. And the fourth thing is capital, and that's linking some of our folks, investment folks in the community with these startup companies and startup ideas as they come out. So it's kind of a holistic approach to how we grow technology-oriented and innovative businesses within our community, because we think that fits really well with our goals for natural and historic preservation. It's their primary jobs. Typically have high wages that are associated with them. So we're 2 years in. Encourage your viewers to stop by Base Camp over at 500 Carteret Street. And it's BeaufortDigital.com.
All right, cool. Well, continuing along this conversation of business development per se, what's going on at Beaufort Commerce Park?
Yeah, so Commerce Park, there's a lot of activity going on in Commerce Park. We've got an expansion business that just moved in, Oliver's Bush Hogging. It's now Oliver's Clean Burn, so he's leased some acreage out there from us. Got a really cool smokeless incinerator. I think it's neat because we take tree and yard debris. Instead of throwing it in the landfill where it becomes a problem forever, he brings it to his facility, puts it in this really high temperature incinerator, takes 100 pounds of debris and turns it into 2 pounds of potash.
Neat.
Wow.
That we need to see that happen.
You need to go out there and check it out. It's a really
Yeah.
cool piece of technology, a really great business, and they're able to sell this potash for fertilizer and other uses, and so it becomes then a revenue stream for their business.
Cool.
Through our partners at Hargray and the Department of Commerce and the county, we're trying to get the park polished and ready to go, so we put fiber optic data so you can have some great broadband through the park. We bush hogged a lot of the sites through there so you can actually see the opening. And we're working with the developer through the Economic Development Corporation to possibly put up a spec building in the next 24 months. So a lot of activity out there.
There is, and you clearly have a passion and excitement for all that's going on, and so I guess things are going well in Beaufort, I guess you could say, right?
You know, it's exciting. I think we are early in the foundation of a lot of these economic development initiatives and activities, and so I don't think we can, stick our flag in the ground and say mission accomplished. We still have a long way to go.
Work in progress.
But I'm confident that the city is behind economic development as a priority. I believe that we've communicated the reasons on why it's important to the majority of our stakeholders. And when you look at some of the census data that said we've been losing young people at a drastic clip, we continue to attract retirees, which is a great thing, which is not a bad thing. But I think a lot of the reasons why people move here and people continue to live here is because we're a real, authentic hometown. We're a real place.
Right.
Yeah.
And my nervousness is that if we continue the trends that we're on, we're going to lose that sense of authenticity. We're going to lose that sense of diversity that we're really kind of known for.
Right.
And so the economic development activities that we're working on is really to try to keep us who we are and to create opportunity for people so that they can live here for those of us who have to work. Because
Live, work,
a lot
and
of us have to
play, as
work,
they
you
say.
know,
Right,
we're not
right.
all independently wealthy.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that very important information. We've got a lot more coming up, so stay right here for 843 TV. Welcome back to 843 TV. We are here at the Beaufort Council Chambers today, and we're talking with different city councilmen. And up next, we have Bill Prokop. He's the city manager, and also Reese Bertoff, who is the fire chief and the director of communications. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We've been learning a lot today. So we're going to be hearing about all the strides and a lot happening in the area of communications in the city of Beaufort. And that's kind of what you're spearheading. Share a little bit about where we are with that.
Certainly. As a result of the last couple of staff and city council retreats, we have been working very, very hard to start to bring communications to our citizens in the city of Beaufort in a way that they want to consume them. And that's where we see this heading. So we're working very hard on social media, on direct face-to-face communications by meeting with our neighborhood groups and citizens in our community, and also making sure that we have good, accurate, and timely information released to our traditional media sources to make sure that people understand exactly what's going on in their community.
And what are some of the areas of communication? What are some of the topics, I might add, that you're focusing on getting out there?
Absolutely. So very important that we let people know what the council is working on, to work to engage people in the public debate for the city of Beaufort. There's always topics that are out there that are on the thoughts and minds and lips of people in our community that they want to talk about. And we want to give them avenues, for one, to know that it's going on, for two, where they can come and discuss that with the representatives, and three, where they can go to staff and get more information if they need it.
I think your job is so important because I really believe a successful government depends on good communication.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, you mentioned the neighborhood meetings. Tell us a little bit more about that neighborhood meeting forum and also the Ollie Institute.
Excellent. So we've had the opportunity to engage our citizens in their neighborhood groups for many, many years in the city of Beaufort. We have roughly 22 identified neighborhood groups. We have about 30% that are actively meeting, some on a monthly basis. And what we've been trying to do is take the face of the city, Bill, around and let them talk to him on a one-on-one basis and let them hear how Bill is very, very interested in making sure that we have quality employees providing quality customer service to our citizens. And most recently, Bill and I were able to go to the USCB Ollie Institute and meet with a very let's say, eclectic group of individuals from our community that actually span from Hilton Head to northern Beaufort County and discuss some key topics that are going on in local municipal government. And it was very, very eye-opening to get in front of those individuals and let them know this is what we're up to, this is how it works, what questions do you have, and how do you think that we're doing? And it was a very, very eye-opening and enriching experience.
That's great.
For both sides, obviously.
Obviously.
And I would add on the communications, one of the most important things we're doing is listening. And that's the other side of communications.
Sometimes we forget that part of communicating.
Exactly, because what we really want to know from all the neighborhood group, what's the problems that they are concerned about so that we can say, okay, are we addressing it? Is it common across all neighborhoods or is it just unique? So that's a big part of what we're trying to understand.
That's great.
Since we're in such a beautiful outdoor living area, parks and open spaces is very important. So what are some of the initiatives that the city is taking on?
Well, we have probably a lot more parks and land that's reserved for recreational purposes, and that could just be a walk, but we have in the city over 207 acres of either open space or parks that we have to maintain. So we are now looking at all the parks that we have. You know, we have basically the 4 or 5 that are most used for different events is the Henry Chambers Waterfront Park, the Pigeon Point Park, the Washington Street Park, the South Side Park, And a lot of requests now about the depot where the trail goes by, so people could use that for events. So we're looking at what are the needs, what can we do, what can we maintain, and now, of course, as you know, recently it just added to, through the county, is the Whitehall Park, which will be a new addition in the next year or so for us to be maintaining and taking care of. So we're really saying, what are our needs, what do we need, what does the public need, and what kind of access do we have to those parks?
I think too, on the communication topic, I didn't even know all those parks existed. Now I live in a different part of Beaufort County, but still, we like to come over here too. So just getting the word out, I had no idea all of those parks existed over here.
If you took a list, and a lot of these may be only a space as much as we're sitting in here, but we have 34 different parks that are maintained by the city, not all owned by the city, but we maintain, whether it's for Open Land Trust or the rural and critical lands or the city. So we really have to look hard at what our needs are, and you're absolutely correct. We just did a survey of Southside Park, which is a 37-acre park.
Wow.
We did a survey in the neighborhood, which is about a mile, let's say a mile square. 35% of the people didn't know it was a park.
Now, I'm going to ask you to pack a lot of information into a small amount of time. What can the Beaufort citizens look for from the city in terms of, 2018 is almost over, so let's look at 2019. And I understand you've got plans all the way through to 2030.
We will be holding in January and February 2 work sessions that's called Beaufort 2030. And what we're planning, we're bringing a futurist in, one of the national leading futurists. Her name is Rebecca Ryan, and she does this around the country. In fact, this past week she was in Asheville doing the similar thing for Asheville, but saying, what do we want to be in 2030? And the way I addressed it to Council last week, Stephen Murray mentioned to you that he has 2 5-year-old twins. What is Beaufort going to look like when his twins are in high school?
Well, that's a great question for us to ponder. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us for another very interesting episode of 843 TV,
where communities come to speak.